I'm doing here is pain control. Pain is something that we have to understand in combatives. It's not anything that changes the anatomy of the body. It is something that takes place in the brain. It's a brain function that is meant to detect malady or comprehension of injury. That's all it is. So once we understand what pain is and how it works in different formats, we then have an opportunity to, I don't want to use the word optimize, but optimize our condition of it. So what you're seeing me doing here, this is pain control. It's very different than pain tolerance or tolerance to pain, as we most usually put those words together. Tolerance to pain is more of a physical or immunity, if we could use that bad word again, to pain. It's a resistance to pain. It's a level at which we start to become complicated by pain. Pain control is more akin to a focalization of concentration. When I do this, my brain focuses on the pain as opposed to trying to pretend it's not there. I focus deeply into it, and in doing that, I feel it more and more, and it gets to a point where it's no longer a pain sensation, it's a sensation of its own, more akin to a vibration. And different types of pain, in my experience, give different types of vibration. Puncture as opposed to a fire, for example, heat. This type of method, this ability, if you want to call it a taught ability, allows you to deal with pain over a long term, a steady pain. Say, for example, an injury or a wound or a situation where you have to endure a time frame. We look at it as being an endurance of steady pain, and this is where it becomes interesting, because when we deal with pain in the terminology of pain, of tolerance to pain, this is more of a condition that we can adjust. We can change over life our tolerance to pain, and therefore we can change to some degree the amount that we react to it or pay attention to it. These two things rub closer together, but they're very different. This here I can use, for example, if I have a certain type of toothache. But I can't use it if I have a throbbing toothache like you do when you have an abscess, because throbbing doesn't allow me to focus on it. It comes and it goes too quickly. When we talk about inducing pain in a combatant, in the methods that I teach, we don't worry too much about inducing pain because we don't know their level of pain. A person like a farmer, for example, who works around wire and you know, things his whole life, and he pinches his finger and he hurts his finger and he stubs his stuff, and he cuts himself and he picks himself, and you know, all these type of things induce a state where his pain tolerance increases. It's the same thing who train in combatives and boxing and martial arts and these type of things, perhaps other sports as well. I'm not going to make a list of sports. These elements are such that they induce a normalization of pain to certain degrees. And of course, you can now start off at a base level as a child and start to magnify that level that is common to you to large amounts. And this will come into effect in more combatives, in the influence, in the interim of a conflict, than this will. This will be more focused towards afterwards, or surviving, or dealing with, and again, I deal with steady pains. But the trick is, it's interesting, is this and pain tolerance has a very interesting trade-off. We can focus on pain and handle it. I always talk to a person in class about that if I was to bet $100 that he could put his finger in the match, for sure he would, and he could, because his brain has a chance to overcome the natural reflex reactions. But the reflex is linked to pain. So our physical reflex is linked to the induction of pain to some degree. Certain types of pain are better than other types. This is why a guy can be punching and being fully focused in and get hit and hardly even know he's been hit. This is why drugs and alcohol will override normal sensibilities. But you take that same guy that put his finger in the fire and walk up behind him, take a match, light it, blow it out, and touch him on the back of the arm where he doesn't know what's happening, and he'll jump and he'll react. And he'll do it every single time, and he'll do it every single time the same way. So the way that we induce pain is very important. The type of pain we induce, sharp pains, are very good, as opposed to surface pains type of thing. I fail to words to try to describe, the duller type of pain that we can achieve. They don't do a good effort for this, shocking the system to trigger the reflex. But that's where we go after pain. If we can go after pain and trigger reflex, it's great. If we go after pain and wound so that you can't move things due to a massive pain, that's good. But you have to understand that some people can go very far under a wounded situation. And some people go very far before they're even really worried about what they're feeling. There's many cases of people getting stabbed and not realizing they've been stabbed, but actually thought they were punched or hit. So pain is a very variable thing, and it depends a lot on who's doing it and who's receiving it and what condition the person receiving it is under and how that expands their tolerance level, the pain tolerance level. Pain control, again, is another place. I would submit to you that in the world of combatives, pain control has almost no benefit in the duration of the fight. Pain tolerance is something that we should work on through not some kind of weird event here. We're talking about by the method of playing rough. When we were kids, we roughhoused, and that kind of mentality built that in us. And that's the type of thing we can build when we train with each other, rough it up a little bit, and this type of thing. That causes that change in what we consider to be important as a pain. Anyway, that's pain control. And pain tolerance. So these are totally different things, and they have a very big play if they're played right and in the right place. Thanks for your time. Sorry for the skinnies, but it's hard to do it without the skinnies, so have a nice day.